Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Life After DD214. I have with me today a very special guest, Chase Hurst. Chase, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming on. So, Chase and I, we've known each other last 10 years. Or no, the last
Yep.
time we've seen each other was 10
It's
years
been
ago.
10 years. We knew each other since 2012.
Yeah, I was just about to get ready to leave for Afghanistan. You were coming in, joining the S3 shop up in Fort Drum, and we had quite an adventure, to
Yeah,
say the least.
yeah. To say the least, Fort Drum was a great place.
Very true.
Fort Drum was a great place.
So, so before we jump into that part, let's talk about your military history because you are a special case, my friend.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Special case.
yeah.
I'm pretty hard-headed. It took me twice to learn my lesson, I guess. So, I kind of grew up there in Middle Tennessee. Couldn't wait to get out of Middle Tennessee. Grew up in a small town where everybody kind of knew your business. So I was ready to go, and I needed to grow up a little bit. I was still immature after graduating high school. I decided to join the Marine Corps. Shipped out, I signed contract, and shipped out in 3 days from walking in the recruiter's office. If that tells you where I was in life, I was a little impulsive. Went to Paris Island, then shipped out to 29 Palms. Spent about 7 years out there, and then I deployed with them to Afghanistan with 2-7 with the War Dogs, and then I got married, and transitioned out, went over to the Army, and then was medically retired in 2016. I mean, my career was, I don't know, fun.
Brought to an end. So you decided from Middle Tennessee that you wanted to be a Marine.
Yeah.
And then you spent quite a bit of time as a Marine, and then you decided to be a soldier. What was that about?
Yeah. The Marine Corps and I were like oil and water. I had to make myself fit there. And I think that people that I served with there would still tell you today that I just, I was a good dude. I did my best, right? But that really wasn't my opportunity to be me. So that transition was tough. I got married. My wife and I decided, because the deployment cycle was so high, that we would just go ahead and rip out and give it a try someplace else. That didn't work out. We had a son in between there,
Wow.
which was hard. I finally found a job after I was unemployed for a while. I finally found a job at the Nissan plant there in Smyrna, Tennessee. And I was working in their metal finishing department, and I stepped off the line to go use the restroom because I was about to bust. And I got written up for that. And I remember coming home to my wife and said, I'd rather go back to war than be told when I can use the restroom and when I cannot. I've already earned that right as a human,
Yeah.
I felt like. So and that was the best move for my wife and I as well. She's a military brat. Dad's retired Navy, great guy, strong family. That's what she knew was military life. So it was uncomfortable for her as well. I'm trying to fit yet again another square peg in a round hole. So I think we decided to go back to the Army because the deployment cycles at that time, whenever I rejoined in 2012, the deployment cycle was a little bit slower. You had some respite, in my mind, in between the two, and I was not going back to infantry. So, I went to logistics, which, kind of changed, the pace of things, which was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get this straight. So, as a Marine, you were an infantry Marine. And then,
So, no, I was an ammunition guy, but I was attached to an infantry unit. So I was one guy in a infantry unit. They have one ammo guy per battalion over there. So you just get to do double duty. So whenever you get to go do all their training, plus you get to get up earlier and go do all their ammo stuff and turn it in and make sure it's all planned out, after work. And it was fun. I loved it. That part of the job was a lot of fun. Being around the guys and doing a lot of the training, that was awesome.
And then you transitioned, you said 11 months and 14 days?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. And somewhere within that 11 months, you tried your hand at metal finishing, decided that being told when and where to use the bathroom was not your thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got on with a company in a factory because, at that point in my life, I had learned really well how to listen, how to follow
Yeah.
instruction, so whenever, they were hiring, they went through a big hiring phase. And, anybody out there that is listening to this that works in the automotive industry or any type of factory, my hat is off to you. I couldn't last. It was just the pace and the frequency of which you push, and this is coming from a combat veteran, battle hardened combat veteran that used to do stupid stuff for money. I will tell you that that's a tough job. I got a lot of respect for it. It really did open my eyes to what a lot of our fellow Americans have to work with every day. It really did. Made me never want to go back. I worked my butt off to not be back in that position.
Fair. Nice. Okay, so now you're at 10th Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about? How did that?
So here I am, rejoining home of record, Middle Tennessee. I'm going into the Army. So they gave me my current rank of E5, going into the Army. We had three posts that we could choose. I remember one being Riley. And I brought that and Fort Drum back to my wife Elizabeth, and she said, "Ooh, New York, why not?" We wound up at 10th BSB up there, 10th Mountain Division.
Yeah. Yeah. So did she know what part of New York you were going to go to when she saw that?
We looked at a map, brother.
Okay, I'm just asking because some people, when they're like, "Hey, oh, New York, that sounds great," like they think New York City or somewhere like West Point, right? Not
right.
Wonderful Watertown, New York.
Hey, I hear that a lot, right? So everybody says, Fort Drum is where careers go to die, right? Like, and mine did. So it echoes
Brother,
to be true.
I feel you. That's mine died there too.
It's she did know. We looked it up on a map, but did we understand the climate that was up there? No. Do we understand that people from Alaska that is stationed in Alaska actually get TDY or temporary duty station up to Fort Drum in Watertown, New York to do cold weather survival training from Alaska? No, I didn't. Though that was a little tidbit that we got as we were transitioning up over New Year's Eve, by the way. First whiteout my wife and I had ever been in. That was a...
Yep. And the funny thing about that whole situation is I actually met a soldier, NCO, who actually did that training. He did go TDY from Alaska to Drum for winter training. Yeah, I have met that guy. Hilariously, he is originally from Guam. So the fact that he was even in Alaska to begin with, he was already cold. And then they were like, "Hey, you're going to get colder, and we're going to send you over to New York."
Hey, look, that's a guy seizing opportunities in life, and I can appreciate that. Okay, he wants to experience everything life has to offer. I'm with him, except for that.
Yeah. And so 2013, the 10th BSB deploys to Afghanistan, but you didn't come with us, unfortunately. And I think you did a great job holding down the fort back home.
Yeah, I did not make all the pre-deployment markup checklist. And if you remember, I argued pretty adamantly that I could hit those check marks pretty quick if you needed me to. And I got told no, but I did. I was at the rear. We kept the training going. We still ran normal training cycles for the people that were in the rear because we didn't know when we were going to be pushed forward. And that's what we were told.
Right.
So that was our mission.
Right. We definitely moved forward. We moved a battalion size element and we called it a brigade. So that kind of tells you the amount of people that were forward versus the amount of people that you had back at Fort Drum. So you actually had to deal with more people than we did.
Yeah. And that was the funny thing about it is it was most of the battalion was still back and we were still running operations. And we ran a lot of support. As 10th BSB, we ran a lot of support ops for 2nd BCT on their pre-deployment workout. Played a lot of Op 4. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And then it happens. You know what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. The Army's birthday. What was that? June 14th of 2013. I was in a training exercise and got popped in the right eye and lost my right eye from it. Did my best to hang on, and then I got hit in the sweep of all P3 because I was missing an eye at that point. I was considered a P3 profile, so anybody with a P3 profile got to go home, big dog.
So that brings me to this next part where not a lot of people that I have met have gone through your route, right? Like that's a different level of stress that I could only imagine that you had, knowing that you had to be a father and support your family. And oh, by the way, you have one eye and you are now being told that it's time for you to leave.
Yeah, that's what you want to unpack, huh? All right. Yeah, so that was it was very unique. There was a lot of fear involved. The biggest fear for me, I think, with my wife, is that we had already tried this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it didn't stick. And we were basically newlyweds. I mean, even at that point, and I was missing an eye, so that means I had to literally change vocations. I had no college education. I was not a straight A high school, kid, if you could imagine. I was a bit of a knucklehead.
Way.
Yeah, I was a bit of a knucklehead. It took me a while. I didn't want to go back and get my degree. I kind of fought that. School was very tough for me. I have ADHD. Did as a kid, do as an adult. I own it now. I call it my superpower, but it made me really good at my job in the military, and it really served me well in other aspects of my life, but in school it never has, which is funny because I work in higher education now. It all comes full circle. Yeah, but there's a lot of fear. It was how am I gonna put a roof over my wife's head? And now I have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Wife and 2 kids, and change of vocations, and I haven't talked to anybody that I grew up with because I joined the military and I was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have any ties back home. It was scary, man. That was scary. Elizabeth and I made a game plan. The first time we didn't have that great of game plan. Whenever we exited, it was just like, hey, let's just go. We'll figure it out as we go. This time we kind of backed it up. We decided that we were going to move to McKinney, Texas. Whenever we found out that I was going to, I was being med boarded, we immediately started executing things, packing up the house. I sent her forward. She wound up staying with my folks for a little bit until we got up on our feet, got an apartment. And my younger brother got down there at the same time. He was medically separated, and we didn't know it. Like, he didn't know that I was going through the med board because he was in South Korea for so long. He and I just kind of, lost touch, and like we would play video games with each other, over Xbox every now and again. Rarely would we do a phone call, right? I mean, we were working. We had young families. I didn't even know that he was back in the States. Whenever I found out he was being medically separated, found out he was back at Fort Lewis, I was like, dude, this is awesome. But I found out that we were both moved back to McKinney, to the McKinney, Dallas area of Texas. And he and I decided that we were going to go back and do some college together. We started there at Collin College. That kind of alleviated a lot of fears whenever I found out that, that he and I were actually serendipitously coming to the same city. I mean, having an instant support system was huge.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the biggest fears that I would also have in that situation, had I not known that I'd have an instant support system, is the fact that there was nobody there, right? You're leaving, New York, you're moving to a completely different state where you've never
all the
been
way across
before.
The country, never lived before.
You're expected to just jump right in and be successful. I don't think that's the way that works. So what was the out processing like? Like, I know for myself, I had to do a Soldier for Life ACAP transition program. How did that go for you while at Fort Drum?
How did it go for me?
Yeah, what did you think of the program itself?
Okay, thank you. All right. So I thought Soldier for Life. I did not at that time because I was dealing with the med board process. My family was gone. Like there was a lot of a lot of things. I was doing good, if we're being honest, just getting out of bed in the morning and keeping the bottle out of my hands. And so I don't think I really took that course to its fullest advantage. But I do remember there was like a lot of like New York Highway Patrol that was there, things that I was interested in. No colleges. I mean, they told me to go set up a LinkedIn, right? And at that time, I was like, okay, cool. I'll go set up a LinkedIn. Like, what is this? Because in my adult life, we didn't network. I was never taught, about that networking. How important networking is. So I just went and set up a LinkedIn. I was like, okay, check. I think I was that guy that was just like, okay, I'm just getting through today. Check the box. Check the box. Um, so I don't think I'd be a very good one to qualify.
No, but actually,
But what I did get out of it was I did get financial planning. I got my because I was medically retired. I at a certain percentage, like I was able to, keep my family on insurance and do things like that. So I was able to kind of like walk through that. I made sure I was paying attention to that stuff. But most of the stuff up there that I remember from SFL Taps was, set up this, here's life insurance, look at life insurance stuff, make sure you get on monster.com. This is how to fill out a resume. Good luck.
right. And no, but actually, that kind of brings my point is that I don't think that you're the only person who was just doing the check the block thing. Because even when I was going through it, there were, myself included, there were people who were just saying, I'm going to be fine. I just have to take this course until it's time for me to leave. And then I'll be done. And then I'll get my DD214 and then I'll figure it out from here.
Well, I mean, how many times were you walking through and you would talk to your civilian counterparts and, you're like, oh, dude, you're going to be able to jump right out and jump into this. Or you have people on the other side of it at SFL Taps like, don't worry about it. You fill this out. You fill this out right. You are a demand hire. People love to hire veterans. Everybody. No, they don't.
Exactly.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Why? Yes, people love to hire veterans. Who likes to hire veterans? People who don't want to pay very much for hard labor. That is what I have found.
Well, there you go. And see, and that's kind of the one of the big myths that I want to dispel, especially is, if you are planning on getting out of the military, there is a lot of work that needs to be done
Good gosh, yes.
in order for you to successfully transition out of the military and into civilian life. And I think a lot of people just kind of, we get told as soldiers, worse for officers, in my opinion, worse for us is we get told, you're going to be fine. One, they love hiring veterans. People love hiring veterans. Two, you were an NCO. You were an officer. You guys have management experience. There's no reason why no one would want to hire you. I know for a fact that I have actually gone to a bookstore to try to be a inventory specialist.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm going to stack books on the shelf. And I got rejected because of, like, one, at that time I was overqualified, but also like they were like, but I also didn't have quote unquote the experience of leadership in order to be the manager
They were looking for.
that they were
Right.
looking for. Correct.
Now, imagine if you or I had a class or if there was some service out there that we could tap into that could take the verbiage that we were used every day that we were embedded in the military and be able to translate a lot of what we did into civilian language.
Right.
And that way you would be able to see that project management that you did, through Triple C and beyond, right? Like how you moved from more, less of a doer, more into the executive role, as a commander, right? And then as an NCO, right, like you moved off that bottom rung and moved up into that supervisor role as a corporal or as an E5, as a sergeant, and then beyond, and then Army, I guess you could include your E6s over there too. But It's interesting,
Right.
the dichotomy.
Exactly. Indeed. And so let's get back to your story here. You're moving to Texas,
Yeah,
right? You've already sent Liz forward deployed
yeah.
as the advon. She's already
She is
taken
the
care of
Advon.
90%
She's
of
Torch.
everything.
Yeah.
So just so that you could come in and dirty it up.
Yeah.
And then you said you decided that you and your brother are going to go to school at the same time.
Yes, we did. We actually went to as I got there. I think it was like 2 days before Christmas to McKinney. The next week after Christmas, we had an apartment set up, and like she had already had a game plan. I mean, she was she's my wife. She's awesome. She's my best friend. Always got my back. She had 2 kids down there. She was making it happen. And here her husband was up at Fort Drum rallying all of his buddies to come help him pack up his house so we could ship it down. So, we just made it work. Rob got down there. We wound up going to Collin Community College there in Collin County, Texas. It was a great school. Great transition for us. We didn't know what we wanted to. We knew what we wanted to do. We just didn't know how to get there, and we did not find. Let me just say, for lack of better words, an advocate for us or a mentor. We didn't have good mentorship to navigate the higher ed space. So
Okay.
we wound up wasting some of our GI bill by not being a little bit more strategic, but we just didn't know any better. So Rob, I think I'll let him tell his, but I lost, quite a bit. I think I lost almost 9 months of my GI bill by staying at Collin College for too long because with my military scripts, whenever I transferred up to University of North Texas, they would only take X amount of transfer credits. I was already maxed out, right? So I was like joining, UNT as a second semester junior, and I still needed to take all my core classes. And by the way, if you don't, if you're enlisted or you don't know about this, your GI Bill only counts for 1 degree at a time. So you have to play that really well. Because you have to stretch it. Nowadays, it takes you about 4 to 5 years to get a degree. So your GI Bill entitlement's about 36 months, right?
Oh,
So
interesting.
play it smart, guys. Guys and gals. It's and if you need some help, there's great companies like mine, Dynamic Educational Solutions, that can help you out, figure out a pathway forward. That's something
Cheap
that we
plug.
missed. Yeah, I'm gonna plug it, man. It's a cheap plug. Come over and see us. And that was good. Rob and I both went over there with the idea I was going to go back and be an educator. I thought that was the most. That I was going to go back and teach. I found out very quickly that was not for me.
Okay.
I don't do well with 4 walls and nowhere else to go. Like I said, I have ADHD. I need to move, and if I don't have that space to do that, I go a little stir crazy.
Gotcha.
So I transferred. I transitioned off of that, and I moved over. I got actually a universal studies. I'm a couple hours shy. They forced me to graduate. I capped out at 141 hours, where you were supposed to graduate at 121.
Okay.
Like I said, if you're not smart about it, you could wind up being like me, who just didn't know. Right? I
Right.
had no idea. I did not realize that my military and all the schools that I went to and all the education I got inside the military applied towards my degree. Like, no matter what, the school takes it because it's reportable, right? It's good for them. Well, I spent way too long down at the community college. I went for my associates down there, and I wound up losing time. Other than that, it was good. Went to UNT, had a great experience up at UNT, got involved in their Student Veteran Association. I went from the old goat, over there in the corner in the classroom, in my 30s, I found some solace down there with the other old goats and, down there in the SVA. And that's what we used to call each other.
Old goats.
Yeah, just a bunch of, veteran males and females that were at the university. And it was a good space for us because we were all about the same age, all about the same station in life. So we weren't there to party. We were there to, I got to go to work after this, after
Right.
class. I need a quiet place to study in between the two. So we got some good friends over there. Really opened up my eyes to what veterans are kind of in an uphill battle whenever we go to whenever we go to get our undergrad after we serve, if we stay in for too long. Yeah, I think if you do 4 years and you get out and you hit that age demographic, it's a little bit smoother of a transition. I wound up having to take some remedial courses, and I was in the writing lab every day, the math lab every day, and being a dad and
Yeah.
having to work and, do all those things. That was tough. That was tough. Retooling the toolbox was tough. I didn't expect to do that. I drank the Kool-Aid, man. I was there for 20 plus. So this wasn't in the plans.
Completely understandable. I drank that Kool-Aid too. I was planning on being 20 plus, and again, you and I left Fort Drum right about the same time. So
Yep.
completely understanding. But so great. You graduated.
Yep.
And
2019.
2019.
I graduated in 3 years. I took full loads. I didn't take any time off because you don't get your BAH if you don't take the summer mesters or winter mesters. So I always made sure I took courses. Got to keep the lights on.
Absolutely.
Food and mouths, right?
Absolutely. And so you're graduating, and then you're recognizing also that once you're graduating, your GI Bill is starting to not pay. So what's the next plan after that, and what's going through your brain when that's happening?
I got lucky. I was able to graduate with my GI Bill not exhausting. I wound up graduating with my university studies because I got 3 minors because I did not have enough time to finish out any of my majors. I still have 6 hours, I think, or so. It was just enough that I didn't have enough time left to finish up any of them, so we lumped them all together and I graduated. What it was going to look like was me shelling out, or because I didn't have the money, right? I was going to have to go down and borrow that money to be able to, number one, pay my tuition, but then my BEH would be gone. It was just time for me to go. And then outside of that, I spent another 3 months looking for a job. Went through a lot of interviews. Was really angry because this was the promise, right? Is that number one, I had served my country, I'd done my time honorably. I was medically retired. I didn't get to finish what I started. And then I was promised that once I get that piece of paper, once I get that degree, that's going to open the world for me. I spent 3 months knocking and banging on doors, and then I had a hookup. A buddy of mine got me into a freight brokering company as a freight broker. So I was having to do cold calls every day, tracking truckers, tracking freight. Make good money. Not going to lie. Anybody out there that if you have a salesman heart and you are willing to work hard and you just don't mind sitting on the phone all day, hey, go check out logistics and get with a freight broker. Be a freight broker. It wasn't for me. I was kind of miserable. I worked that though for about 3 years, and then I transitioned from that to I started working at a middle school here in town, and I started working back in education. I wound up being an SRO for them.
Okay.
For 2 years over at the middle school, and absolutely loved it. Fell back in love with education all the time. My brother and I had started our company. So whenever I moved up to Kansas, I moved from Texas up to Kansas City for my wife to pursue, an opportunity to be a coach. And we took that, we seized it because it was awesome. Came back to her where she graduated up here outside Kansas City. And so it's been nice. My brother and I started our company together called Dynamic Educational Solutions, and we just tried to remove financial barriers and foster pathways for veterans and their families to have a better life.
That's amazing. So I want to jump back a little bit. We're going to come right back to your new company.
Yeah.
But I want to jump back into that 3 months of looking for a job. Right. Yeah. Because for you, it's 3 months.
I was doing handyman work. I was putting myself out there. I was doing ranch work for a while. I went and helped do some fences around here. If anybody had a job that was willing to pay, I was willing to move. Yeah, I was moving to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially, in your situation, you got two kids, you got a wife. Thank goodness that, Liz is a great person and coach, and she's,
She is.
doing a fantastic in what she was doing. But also, for yourself to
Yeah.
have a purpose, right?
You know how crushing it is to not be able to contribute to your household the way you're used to?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
crushing as a man. I can tell you, as a man who has a large ego, I guess, and I'm proud of it. I got a large ego and I'm proud of myself and I believe in myself, and not producing, it took a huge blow, and then not being successful for almost 3 years, working a job that I was not successful at for almost 3 years, just kind of put me through the grinder. Because, if we're being honest, that's, other than being shot in the face, it was one of the first times in my professional career, that I had not succeeded, that I had not been able to achieve the next and progress. It was so frustrating, man. It was so
Yeah,
frustrating. It took me a
absolutely.
while. A lot of good therapy. Oh, good gosh. Thank you, VA.
Yeah.
A lot of good
So,
therapy to get me through that, bro.
yeah, you literally just keep bringing the hits, Chase. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sorry. I'm probably oversharing on your channel.
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
My
Because,
wife's going to kill me. You shouldn't share so much.
well, the thing
I can't
about it
help it.
is,
If it happened to me, it happened to somebody else, man.
that's
So,
exactly what I was just about to say. Maybe not in those exact words, but no, it actually does happen to other people. And a lot of people are not too afraid to admit to it, or they're too afraid to talk about it, or it was a dark part of their life and they don't ever want to bring it up again.
you know,
I'll tell you for myself, I have spent quite a few nights in the basement of a VA hospital where you're on watch. Like,
no.
people are watching me, making sure I don't do anything crazy.
Well, thank God that was there, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
when you need that, because sometimes life gets a little much, you know,
Absolutely.
especially whenever you're in a new place and, you don't have your support system that you're used to. Well, the VA's there. I don't have, my mom and dad, and all my friends I grew up with to help me get through this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's kind of nice to have a place that I know, is there for me and is my advocate, right? Which is nice.
Yeah. And I want people to know and I want people to understand that that's what the VA is for, right? Like, it's not just for, a VA home loan, which is a fantastic thing, but there are a lot of benefits that come with being a veteran. And you know, thank goodness that I became a veteran. Thank goodness that I have these things.
Well, thank goodness that the American people, so, told their lawmakers that they want their veterans taken care of, through all the crap that we have to do, and then the transition back, because a lot of people forget because we weren't at war for a long time, but then whenever we were at war, it was all praise the veterans, praise the veterans. But then when we got home, they kind of stuck us in a closet.
Right. Right.
They're proud of you, good job.
Right. And then,
Whenever you
by
got
the
back, it
way,
was like,
yeah, and oh, by the way, here's your Soldier for Life class. It's about a couple weeks long. Most soldiers that were there with me, I'm sure with you, were not paying attention because they were just ready to get
no,
out. They were just
well,
ready to get out.
because this is happening still, right?
Right. Right.
I was still
So,
working. I
yes.
was still working. Like,
Yeah.
you still showed up to work every day, and then I excused myself for the classes, and then I would
Right.
come back to work.
Right. Right. Now let's go back and talk about your business that you and your brother set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We don't have to talk too much about it. I can do a little blurb if you don't mind. I mean,
No, take the floor.
my brother and I think you have a podcast coming up with him as well. So I
I
will
do.
I'll leave a little bit for him. Whenever my brother and I were going through higher education, we were just super frustrated. We didn't have, I think I said it earlier, we did not have good mentorship, and there was not good resources out there that were tangible to us, right? So we decided through our learned experiences and our non traditional path that if we had a problem doing it, somebody else had a problem doing it. So we started a company in the spirit of removing financial barriers for our veterans and their families, to higher education. Access to higher education is access to a higher quality of life. There's nothing is more true than knowledge is power. And whenever you gain access and you unlock that codex and you learn how you learn and you get excited about something, you become a professional in it. That's whenever real success starts. And my brother and I found that very frustrating after we got our degrees that we were told was going to open all these doors, and it didn't. We needed further education. So, with that, my brother and I started our company and we started fostering business pathways. So we now work with other higher ed institutions, be it trade schools, 2-year, whatever, state universities. We work with them all on how to get themselves aligned and ready for strategic planning to be able to accept GI Bill, how to influence more talent pipelines into them. So that's what we do now. Mostly we serve our veteran base, which is awesome. And we do a podcast called Desk Talks. And we also have another
I think I've heard of
break
it.
off that's called Broken Toys. It's you've been on a Desk Talk.
So,
We're having fun.
cheap plug, but from where I sit right now, this podcast, this episode is going to air the day after my episode with you airs.
Yep, you came over and graciously came over into Desk Talk with us, and that was awesome. You're going to start seeing that. This is going to air, like you said, the day after. So I hope you enjoyed and caught us on Desk Talks, and now you wanted more entertainment, so you rolled over to LADD214 or LADD214, as I like to call it, because I like that. It kind of rolls off the tongue.
Sure it does. And even better is tomorrow I have the honor of chatting with your brother.
That's awesome.
And I think the way I'm going to play this is I'm going to release y'all's episodes back to back.
And then have us back. And we could just be your reoccurring guest whenever you need filler, whenever you need someone, you don't have anybody interesting enough to come on,
Right,
you could just fill her in with us.
Right, because there's definitely questions that I would have if I were to get out of the Army or out of the military now, along with my GI Bill, and how would I pursue that? And especially now, when it's not only the post 9/11 GI Bill anymore, right? There used to be a thing where it's one or the other. Right. And so now a lot of veterans are getting out and they have both Montgomery and post 9/11. So if it were me today, I would not know how to navigate that. And I think that when you and your brother discovered that there was no mentorship, there was no advocacy for higher education in the veteran space, I love the fact that you took upon yourselves to say, we have a solution to this problem. Might be an 80% solution right now, but we've got something and we're going to roll with it.
Well, I think Rob says it best, and I hope he says it tomorrow with you. Rob says it best. Rob has always been the guy, and he's brilliant. You'll get to have a chat with my brother. He's just a brilliant guy. Rob says, if you don't give me the door, I'll take the window.
There you go.
Rob's definitely a man of opportunity. He sees the world in a different way, and he sees opportunities in a way for both people to be beneficial. Rob has a very unique way of doing that. I wouldn't start a business with him if I didn't trust him to have other people's interests at heart, but he really does have our veteran brothers and sisters like near and dear, and that's what we do this for. We started a company because we wanted to protect and make sure that our veterans, brothers and sisters got to have the same opportunity to have a great career or life after a service, because that does happen for all of us quickly.
Right. Yes,
sometimes unplanned, right?
Sometimes unplanned, yes. And that's where people like you come in and just help guide. And I think that's what the world, especially veterans, need, is a guide.
Well, right. So what we do over at DES, what we do is if you gave us a call or if you reached out to us, you can do that through our website at www.dynamiceducationalsolutions.org. If you go over to the contact page, you can get in contact with us and we will help you for free. We do not charge veterans. This is a free service. We're a 503c. We do this for free. So we will help you get yourself together, right? So we'll give you the checklist. We're going to give you the playbook. It's your decision on what play to make.
Got
Right?
it.
But we're going to give you a playbook for success, and we're going to do it in a conversation. We're going to sit down, do it over the phone, and if you need me to, we will do it multiple times. I will get on a Zoom call with you and walk you literally through how to apply for your VA benefits if you don't know how to do that. Right? If you need a plan or a strategy of how to start setting yourself up for success, we can help you do that as well. If you just don't know where you're going, you just need a kick in the butt to get in the right direction. I can help you with that too.
There you go.
And that goes for spouses as well. We recognize that not all veterans are in a place whenever they are being forced, out of a career. That's really hard time to take some advice. If you're a spouse of somebody and you're reaching this message and you have that veteran that you have in mind, I'll talk to you too. Come on. You can guide him. You are his best friend and should be his strongest advocate. So I will talk to you every single time, as well as the veteran. So come on.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up with this last question, Chase. Tell me,
Yeah.
since you are a Marine and you are a soldier, what is one thing that you've learned in your entire military service that you still hold on to today?
Lead with love.
Lead with love. I love it.
Lead with love. Lead with compassion.
Give me a quick example of that from what you do now with DES when you lead with love and compassion.
So what we try to do with all of our partners that we work with on our business side, I'm assuming that's what you're saying. We lead our business partners to be more open, more honest, and do business that is mutually beneficial to everybody in the room. And we do that with our words. We do that with our actions. We do that with our intent. We're very picky on who we work with. We're very boutique. We're very small. We're able to do that. And we're very cautious on who we work with, and we want to influence big change, and you can't do that without purpose.
I love it. All right, Chase, always a pleasure to have you grace us with your beautiful presence.
Dude, it's good to be in your energy, even if it's over a computer screen.
So I'm going to leave the link to Dynamic Educational Solutions, also a link to the podcast that we did together that aired just so. Everybody take a chance, like, share, subscribe, and later, lads.
Later.